If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sonny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing
just
there.
Go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there.
I mean, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. But let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said on the...
The morning the scandal erupted felt just like any other, coffee in hand, casually scrolling through the news. But then, a name jumped out. Sunny Hostin. This time, it wasn't about her bold opinions on The View. No, the spotlight was on her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin. And the headlines? Far from flattering, Dr. Hostin, a renowned orthopedic surgeon, and his practice, Hostin Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, were suddenly at the center of a massive controversy. The allegations? Insurance fraud, kickbacks, and believe it or not, ties to a sprawling RICO lawsuit involving a staggering 180 defendants. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a full-blown scandal. But before we unravel all the details, make sure to
agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
The RICO Act, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, was originally designed to dismantle organized crime. Think mobsters, gangsters, and underground dealings. But here's the twist. This case isn't about the mafia. It's about doctors, surgeons, and medical practices caught in a web of alleged fraud. Instead of a Goodfellas-style takedown, this courtroom drama feels more like Grey's Anatomy, but with a side of corruption. The lawsuit claims that Dr. Hostin and others orchestrated a scheme to exploit the healthcare system, allegedly receiving kickbacks for unnecessary surgeries and billing insurance companies for procedures that may never have even occurred. Imagine this. Patients going under the knife, insurance companies footing the bill, while behind the scenes, money moves like chips in a high-stakes poker game, except the casino is a hospital.
I want a citizen that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners. He's got a $100 million, contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says, this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this misinformation?
They have.
And that's
Here's where things get even messier. The lawsuit specifically accuses Dr. Hostin of receiving financial kickbacks for recommending or performing arthroscopic surgeries, those minimally invasive joint procedures. On the surface, these surgeries seem routine and legitimate. But according to the lawsuit, some of them may have been completely unnecessary. The big question, were these patients truly in need of knee or shoulder operations? Or was this just a lucrative scheme disguised as medical care? If the allegations hold up, this could go down as one of the most shocking betrayals in recent medical history, putting even the wildest soap opera scandals to shame. Imagine trusting your doctor with your health, only to find out you were just a pawn in a high-stakes financial con. That's the kind of betrayal that doesn't just hurt emotionally, it stings physically, too.
It's always the people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for the kickbacks.
But
But here's the plot twist. On the other side of this legal battle is American Transit Insurance Company, ATIC, the plaintiff. ATIC claims they were swindled out of millions, alleging they were billed for surgeries that either never happened or weren't medically necessary. Think of it like ordering a premium steak dinner and getting tofu instead. But let's be honest, insurance companies aren't exactly saints either. They've long been accused of underpaying doctors, denying legitimate claims, and exploiting every loophole to avoid cutting checks. So, the real question here is ATIC genuinely trying to expose a massive healthcare fraud? Or is this just a last-ditch effort by a struggling company looking for a scapegoat?
I did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
Dr. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Thwaites, came out swinging. He dismissed the lawsuit as a desperate, baseless attempt by ATIC to claw back its losses, framing it as the last gasp of a company on the brink of collapse. His strategy? Flip the script, painting ATIC as the real bad guys in this saga. It's a classic legal move. When you're under fire, shift the focus to your accuser. And trust me, the courtroom heat is only rising. But wait, there's another twist. Enter Joe Rogan, podcast heavyweight and media watchdog. Rogan didn't hold back, ripping into The View for what he saw as blatant hypocrisy. He reminded everyone how Sunny Hostin had a history of slamming others from her moral high ground, all while, allegedly, being aware of her husband's shady dealings. But Rogan didn't stop there. He went all in, roasting the show for, well, sheer stupidity. If you averaged out the IQ of The View hosts, you might still struggle to hit triple digits, he quipped.
Ouch.
Her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit, okay? Now, let's read this. Rob, is this a video?
Well, I have this. I'll show you this about.
Let me just read this and I'll come to you. So, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Thwaites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that Hostin performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments, with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread insurance fraud.
It's like a heist movie, except instead of robbing banks, these criminals are robbing and
Harsh? Maybe, but Rogan's fans were loving every second of it. Meanwhile, as Dr. Hostin fights for his reputation in court, his wife, Sunny, has been noticeably silent. Normally, she's the one taking on controversy head-on on The View, but when it comes to her husband's scandal, nothing but crickets. S.O. What's behind the silence? Is she standing by him, trying to distance herself, or just waiting for legal advice before speaking out? Fans are speculating. Some believe she's protecting her career, while others think she's keeping quiet to avoid becoming the next target. Either way, her silence is making just as many headlines as the lawsuit itself. And here's the real bombshell. This isn't just about Dr. Hostin. He's just one of 180 defendants named in the lawsuit, which includes other doctors, medical practices, and even hospitals. If these allegations hold up, this could be one of the biggest medical fraud scandals in recent history, an entire network accused of exploiting the healthcare system for millions.